What's up, YouTube? It's Ask the Young One with CreateHigherVibrations.com. Today I wanted to make a quick video. Someone was asking me about how come they stayed so long, or they felt conditioned for so long. Sorry, hawks are flying in. But anyway, the question I got was about how they felt like they were conditioned from the beginning of the relationship with a toxic person until they finally got to the point where they just couldn't take anymore. And a lot of this stuff is a lot of things that we subconsciously and unconsciously are very unaware of, and our own inner selves are truly misguided on what relationships are. And a lot of this is, again, based on our childhood programming, what we were taught, how we were loved by our caregivers, how other people perceived us in life, and how we would get our own emotional needs met in childhood. And a lot of times in childhood, when we were a good boy or a good girl, then we would get praised and we would get shown love and we would get a gift or a toy or something if we did something that appeased the caregiver or appeased the person in our life at the time that we were seeking to actually create an emotional connection with. Instead, these feelings were done and these voids were filled through changing and being a condition of giving to them. If we're good, we get love. If we're bad, we get shunned. And that's kind of how we were conditioned as children. And when we have to realize these things, like, these relationships are here to wake us up, and it's going to wake us up to these old patterns that we were taught. That's not how life should be. That's not how love should be. There is no condition put on love. If anyone places a condition in order to receive their love, that's not the type of relationship you should be seeking. Because what that's doing is, when we're doing that, if that's how our childhood was and that's how we were taught and programmed, then we get into these relationships as adults and we begin to get conditioned through the same type of environment, because it creates comfort, it creates a longevity, a familiarity to what we think relationships are. So then we get in relationships with toxic people, and when they want us to be a certain way, they will place these conditions over and over, and before we know it, we're the ones that are completely no longer authentic. We're no longer connected to ourselves. We're no longer in a place of growth. We're now living someone else's perception. We're now living someone else's life. We're now living in someone else, in the eyes of someone else, and how they think we should live. And it's going to create just a complete chaotic misery within our inner selves, and we'll always be in this pain and we'll always be in this suffering because we're not living our own authentic lives. And so that would be my quick answer onto how, as adults, we start getting conditioned to these things. We have to always go back to our childhood and look at how we were taught, how we were raised, our emotional voids. How did we begin to fulfill those, or did we just continue to shut them out? And then as adults, we go into relationships seeking to fill these voids, and we're wanting it to be done based off of someone outside of us. Well, toxic people are the same way, except they may have a lot more holes than we do, and they're unable to, in many cases, see themselves and heal. And we're fortunate to where we can actually begin to awaken to our own old patterns, and realizing that when we can step into our true authentic selves and begin to find ourselves again, then we can start creating relationships based off of that. It's really like we're kind of misguided as growing up, and that's how we end up in these toxic relationships. You know, the thing is if anyone ever wants you to be anything other than your authentic self, then that relationship is meant to wake you up. That relationship is meant to show you the old patterns of yourself and to wake you up and begin to walk through these old patterns back into your true self, to begin to reprogram yourself and realize that a relationship should no longer be built on comfort and familiarity and longevity, but rather than growth potential. You know, the most, you know, one of my experiences, or my experience, not one of them, but my experience after healing from a narcissistic relationship, and I wanted to absolutely make the change in my life that I would, so that I would not recreate these same patterns in my life when it came to a intimate, loving life partnership with someone else. That I had to work through all of these things. Like I had to almost like get reborn again and reprogram every aspect of me and what I was taught, and then I had to figure out what it was I wanted, and then I had to become that within myself so that I could give to another person completely as they do me, but at the same time it does not take away from our own inner path of our own inner purpose of growth. You know, it's more of you begin to create a relationship with someone that will help you grow, and then you grow together instead of it always being one-sided, instead of it always being this way, because that's subconsciously comfortable, but consciously we don't really want this relationship because we don't really feel loved, but subconsciously we stay in it and we keep fighting for it because subconsciously and unconsciously this is what feels like home to us. And so therefore we have to really go backwards and break that back down and truly connect to our authentic who we are, not who we were taught to be. We have to really break down a lot of things, and this is how we move forward in life and begin to create from a different place. And that's how we start to embrace who we are, exactly who we are as we are, and then we will attract these people that are on the same path, and then it's not a competition, and it's not a, you know, seeking to fulfill the emotional voids from outside of ourselves, but we're doing this together in a relationship and growing together without judgments of each other. And we're like, it's an amazing experience, and I hope at some point I can really put it in a lot better words and detail. But you know, I want to stick to answering that question, and you know, just to plant the seed, you know, when we're as an adult and we think this is where it's at, and this is how I was, you know, why I stuck around for so long, and realizing that in order to really truly find these old patterns, we have to go back, and we can, you know, as we start to wake up to things, we can really see how these things led to where they are, and how it led to these individuals coming into our lives. You know, and like I said earlier, you know, some people, you know, will never be able to heal from this, and that's a very sad situation. And there's others, and you know, as empaths especially, we have that opportunity to heal ourselves and to really take ourselves to another level. And so I wanted to share that, and I hope it planted some seeds for you guys. I just like to get on and express myself when someone has certain questions about things. So with that, I'm going to jump off here for now, and I will talk to you on the next video. Namaste.